start is, you know there are n number of ports. There are like 65,536 ports. Get an idea of that. Okay? And when you enter the port of your proxy in your web browser, you enter it 8080, which is the normal. What kind of a address it is? Or what? HTTP. Okay. And what happens if it's an HTTPS?
HTTP is secure.
Okay, so HTTP is secure. So the port number allocated for HTTP is 8080. The port number allocated for HTTPS is 443. So if you want to book a railway ticket, if you want to make an online payment on SBI, it is always redirected to 443. But in general, so that all the websites are accessible, we use this 8080. It's a combination of HTTP, FTP, and whatever protocols that you can think about. So it's a collection of all that. Correct? Now, if I want to develop a personal chat messenger. Okay, I have one system. This guy has another system. Both of us are using a Linux or a Mac. Okay, it has a feature which is called the terminal window. It's very equivalent to what you have in command prompt. So I wrote down a code in Java, and I gave that. I told you about something which is called the loopback or the 127 IP address. Remember? So I can use that as a server, correct? And someone can use it as a client to get data. So irrespective that both of them need to be on the same Wi-Fi network or the same LAN network. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay? So I feed in my IP address to be 127.0.0.1, and he also feed it in the same IP address. Okay? Now, if I wanted to make something like a Facebook Messenger, so what I did was I write down the codes of it. Similarly, he writes down the code for it. I become the server, he becomes a client, and we can have a relay chat transmission. Okay, so I wrote down hello, hi, and the program closes only if you give the command like a special character like $, or if you type by, or if you type exit. Like when you code, you need to give some kind of constraint in order that your program terminates. So this was my termination command. Now, both of us, in order to have a secure communication, need to have a channel. IP addresses are fine, IP addresses are identification, but you need to have a channel. Like between England and France, there's an English channel through which train passes, underground train passes. Okay, so similarly a channel is required. So that channel happens to be a port, correct? Now the port starts from any number to any number, whatsoever is free in that particular network, and not the general ones. Like in programming language, you understand there's something called keywords. So you cannot use that keywords for any other thing. Similarly, there are particular number of ports which cannot be utilized for any other purpose. So whatever the port is free, I can use that. Suppose I wanted to use my port, suppose 300. So I set my port ID to be 300, he set his port ID to be 300. And then we are able to communicate over this internet relay chat. So this is what something which NetStart is used to identify. If you type netstart space www.facebook.com, and at that point of time, if you're chatting between two persons, you will come to know what is the port ID that is being used between you and that person. Got the rough idea that how it is working? Any doubts so far? There's something called netstart space -an. Netstart space -an. It gives you the combined IP address and the port IDs also. The first one will give you only the port ID. The second one will give you the net ID as well, IP ID as well as the port ID. Okay.
So there's no need of that. Over the website which you told last time.
OneStareIP.com.
But that will give your IP address and start.
But again, try and understand you are using a company which is a $1 billion company called Facebook, and those people are much more efficient than you. So whatever happens is redirected to their server, and then it redirected to your friend. So they have mechanisms in between so that to prevent your IDs to get over it. I'm right now not talking about your normal networks. I'm talking about an office communicator or something which is used in a local LAN or something. Okay? Because Facebook keeps security parameters. They have something in the website below privacy terms and conditions. You know that your Facebook, what do you post? That your profile picture is public to anyone unless and until you make it private. So anyone over the internet can see whose picture is this and whose name it is. Maybe your photographs or your albums may have that this is a private thing, but it always remains public for your profile picture. So today go home and make it private if you want, so that no one comes to know who's looking after you. Because today if I want to search someone, all I need to do is type on the Google his particular email ID or something. And even if you have registered for any account on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere, the Google is able to give you what and where he is. So maybe in order to secure information, you can do that. Now there's another thing called NB-STAT, correct? Okay. You know what is a BIOS? You understand the fact that there might be something which is called the BIOS in a server? Yeah. So, try and understand, like I need to give a real-time example so you won't be able to understand. Okay. Understand it in this way. You know there are hacks which happens in BIOS. Now what is a hack? What happens in a BIOS? Maybe you are able to overclock your processor. Maybe you are able to fiddle with your hardware in such a way that you are able to get extra out of it. These are again hacks because company gave you a predefined GPU or a predefined frequency of the processor. You did an overclock to it and you are able to use that. So again it's a hack in the company. Now understand it this way that when you type this nb-stat command online, give the particular website's address, there must be a BIOS present on the server to which it has been redirected.
Can you tell what is BIOS?
BIOS is something which is called a basic input-output system. Okay? When you start your laptop, if you type delete 3 times or function F3 3 times or function F2 or function F9, you enter into a BIOS. Now in BIOS you can check what is the amount of electricity that your screen is taking, what is the amount of processor fan speed what you have in your processor, what is the amount of hard disk that you have. You can make partitions on that, you can make it as a first boot device. Okay? So there are ways and means through which you can access your hardware using a particular BIOS. Okay? So server also has a BIOS. What happens is, when you type this nb-stat space, whatever the website you give, you will be able to get some kind of a BIOS information. Trust me, even I haven't tried this, so I won't be able to give you the correct parameters what you have, because somehow or the other it's an encrypted data. So whatever you get is a garbage value. And until and unless you know cryptography to a very good extent, you won't be able to decrypt it. Okay? It shows you some gibberish and the terminal gets terminated. This is what I have seen till date. So you need to make some kind of a batch file in order that your terminal does not stop. You need to make a code so that whatever the encryption has been done, it has been decrypted and you are able to see what is the configuration of a server. Now, there's a particular number of hits to a particular website. Imagine the date when Flipkart gave a 1 million, like you had that 1 million day that you can buy so many things online at 8 PM which may be costing you 1 rupee. So there's something in a website which is called the number of input to the output ratio. Number of hits what you are giving. If there are 30 channels available to your website, only 30 people can view your website at time t is equal to 0. As soon as you close that, your browser, it gets to t is equal to 1 and number of user becomes 29. So again, one channel gets free. So if someone is requesting for that, you'll be able to get that. So these are some of the information which are present on the server end for that particular website, and you'll be able to see that. So that is what nb-stats deal about. Net BIOS statistics. Cool? Me to leave. So there's something called root. You made a note of that, correct? Now what happens in root actually is, you need to now think as not as a user but think as an administrator, correct? Now what happens is, when you are able to get all the IP addresses of all the people working in a system, you also need to have something which defines you between a router and you. I mean, let it make it more simple. Suppose there are 30 systems in a particular office. Suppose there is one router. Now, what happens is, these systems were given local IP addresses, like you have. All of you have a local address which is very unique to SRM itself. The same IDs can be used over any other network. Okay? Now, I made a request to Google that I want this kind of a file. So, what happened was, so many laptops got collaborated to a particular router. That router also has a particular IP address, correct? This particular IP address went onto the Google server to ask that I want this information. But what did Google see? Google only got the IP address of that router, and it did not get the 30 systems out of which it was getting it, correct? What did Google get? Google only got the IP address of the router and not the entire from the client from whom it was getting. So Google found, okay, this is the router ID, and sending it back to the router, it's router's headache to see to whom it needs to be sent. Okay, now it came back to the router. Now what router does is, it again binds the MAC IDs and IP address in a particular algorithm based way. So in order to access router's table or the routing table, you need to use this root command. Okay. Now once you use this root command, it knows that, okay, at time t is equal to 0, a request was made from IP address A. So I need to deliver this data back to IP address B, A. At time t is equal to 1, there was a request made from B and C. I got this data back to the router, and then it needs to transfer it forward to the client, to clients B and C. So this is something. Now understand, this is at a local level. Now understand it in such a way. I want to send an email to my father who's sitting in Delhi. Okay? I just type my mail and send it away. Now what will Gmail or any other mail service will do it? It is not that there's a direct line between Chennai and Delhi and the data gets transmitted, correct? There are multiple hops through which it goes. Now, how will an email decide whether I need to take a route starting from Chennai, go to Hyderabad, then go to Bhubaneswar, Odisha, then go to Lucknow, and then reach Delhi? Or there's another way, I can go to Bangalore, I can go through Pune, I can go through Jaipur, and then reach Delhi. There's a third way, I can directly go to Mumbai, and from Mumbai I can go to Delhi. So how will an email understand that which pathway it needs to take? So that is why you have a message header in a mail. And that is why you use the root command in order to check where the data packets are actually going. It can take any of the three following paths. Correct? Got any idea of all of you are looking at? So this is how this works. You understand in a particular router, it's not necessary that the SRM router is only being used to transfer your data only. It is used for other purposes also. It may be used as an intermediate to transfer data from VIT to SRM and SRM to Google head office, correct? It may be an intermediate data plan, or it may be something which transports more number of data. So in this way only, you are able to understand which IP addresses are being transferred and which data packets are being transferred from one router to the other. So basically, it's all about routing tables.